Hi. Okay, so earlier my video got cut off, so I'm gonna try and finish really quickly. So as I was saying before, they would do layers of the linen and the resin, and then they would write spells on the linen. They would put amulets on the body whenever they were wrapping, so that they could. That was to prevent anything from happening to the body, like mishaps or anything. The spells were supposed to protect it, and the amulets too. And then they would end up putting it in the tomb. Let me see. And so the tombs, most people, I think, when they think of ancient Egypt, they think of pyramids, but that wasn't the only kind of tomb that there was. There was another kind of tomb that was called a mastaba, and it was like a low-lying, rectangular, smaller little building, I guess you would say, made out of brick and stone. And they also carved tombs into sides of cliffs, so it wasn't just a pyramid, which I think is what a lot of people think of whenever they think of the mummies and they think of the ancient Egyptians, because it's so popular, you know. But yeah, so there were not just pyramids, there were other type of tombs as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about was one interesting fact that I found out was that in the 16th and 17th century, using mummies for medicine was very common, especially among the royalty and the elite. They would take parts of the mummy and crumble it up, and then they would make something called a tincture, which is like an extract that they would take orally, and then it could help with like internal bleeding. That's just one use, but they used it for many things. So I thought that was interesting because I never knew that anybody would ever like eat a mummy or do anything like that. And sometimes they would also, there have been reports whenever people had mummies or like had a mummy, I don't know why they would have a mummy, but they would use it for like kindling, like to put on the fire when they ran out of wood. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Because for as many Egyptians as there were, as many mummies as there probably were, there's not very many around now. And I think that's part of the reason, because grave robbers, you know, they would destroy the mummies whenever they were robbing and trying to get what they could. They would look for the amulets that were wrapped in the body. They would just kind of destroy it pretty much. And so my final thoughts that I had about doing this project over ancient Egypt was, in the research that I was reading, there were a couple of the same question, which was, were the ancient Egyptians preoccupied with death because their rituals were so complex? And I don't think that's the case. I read with an Egyptologist that was interviewed and went on I believe it was for the Smithsonian or National Geographic, but she said that it's not that they were preoccupied with death so much, but that they enjoyed life so much that they wanted it to continue. They wanted everything that they had here to continue on. So they really loved life. They weren't just preoccupied with death, but they loved life so much that they wanted it to continue in the afterlife and for it to get even better. So yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. I found out a lot of things that I didn't know before about ancient Egypt. I think I also had like preconceived notions about mummies and tombs and all that, but I was glad that I got to find out a little bit more and find out some interesting facts about it. So thank you. Bye. I hope you have a good semester next semester.